I found my son crying in the garage at 2 a.m. Dad. Mom told me to give you this. He handed me a phone with a video playing. IT showed me doing something horrible. But I have no memory of IT. Son, I never did that. I pleaded. He backed away, terrified. Dad, look at the date on the video. I checked, IT was filmed yesterday. My wife appeared in the doorway. Surprise. Daddy's going to jail. Unless then suddenly IT happened. Is to reinsert yourself into our lives. Linda's tears stopped as she processed the accusation. You've been watching me. Of course I have. You proved you can't be trusted, so trust became irrelevant. Verification became essential. And you'll watch me until I die, until you die, or until you prove you're no longer a threat to my son's emotional well-being. Linda nodded slowly, finally understanding that this conversation wasn't about reconciliation or forgiveness. It was about establishing final parameters, closing accounts, ensuring that her death wouldn't create new complications for the family she'd abandoned. Tell Danny, she said as Rob prepared to leave. Tell him, I'm sorry. Not for the consequences, not for getting caught, but for the choice itself. For choosing someone else over the family I was supposed to protect. Rob looked back at her from the doorway. I'll tell him. Whether he believes it or cares about it is up to him. Linda Mitchell died 6 weeks later, alone in a hospice room, surrounded by flowers from people who'd known her briefly rather than deeply. Danny didn't attend the funeral, though he sent a single white rose with no note attached. Standing at her graveside, Rob felt neither satisfaction nor regret. Linda's death was simply the end of a chapter that had concluded long before her diagnosis. The woman he loved had died the night she chose Trevor Kane over her family. What had passed away in the hospice was simply the physical remainder of someone who'd become a stranger through her own choices. No regrets? Pete Romano asked, standing beside his oldest friend, as other mourners dispersed. None, Rob replied. She made her choices. We all live and die with the consequences of our decisions. And Danny, Rob looked toward his son, who was waiting by the car, strong and self-possessed, and utterly unmoved by the ceremony they just witnessed. Danny learned the most important lesson anyone can learn. That trust must be earned, and that betrayal has permanent consequences. That's a hard way to live. It's an honest way to live. And in the long run, honesty serves people better than sentiment. They walked toward the car together, leaving Linda Mitchell's grave behind without looking back. The chapter was closed, the accounts were settled, and the future stretched ahead with the clarity that came from understanding exactly what was worth protecting and what price you were willing to pay to protect it. Robert Mitchell had built an empire with his hands, defended it with his mind, and preserved it through his willingness to do whatever was necessary when threatened. His son had learned those same lessons, and would carry them forward into whatever challenges awaited. Some stories ended with forgiveness and reconciliation. This one ended with justice, accountability, and the understanding that actions have consequences that can't be negotiated away or bought off or forgiven into irrelevance. It ended, in other words, exactly as it should have. And there you have it. And as this story quietly slips away into the shadows of your mind, dissolving into the silent spaces where memory and mystery entwine, understand that this was never just a story. It was an awakening, a raw pulse of human truth wrapped in whispered secrets and veiled emotions. Every word, a shard of fractured reality. Every sentence a bridge between worlds seen and unseen, between the light of revelation and the dark abyss of what remains unsaid. It is here, in this liminal space, that stories breathe their most potent magic, stirring the deepest chambers of your soul, provoking the unspoken fears, the buried desires, and the fragile hopes that cling to your heart like fragile embers. This is the power of these tales. These digital confessions whispered into the void, where anonymity becomes the mask for truth, and every viewer becomes the keeper of secrets too heavy to carry alone. And now, that secret, that trembling echo of someone else's reality becomes part of your own shadowed narrative, intertwining with your thoughts, awakening that undeniable curiosity, the insatiable hunger to know what lies beyond, what stories have yet to be told, what mysteries hover just out of reach, waiting for you to uncover them. So hold on to this feeling, this electric thread of wonder and unease, for it is what connects us all across the vast, unseen web of human experience. And if your heart races, if your mind lingers on the what-ifs and the maybes, then you know the story has done its work, its magic has woven itself into the fabric of your being. So before you step away from this realm, remember this. Every story you encounter here is a whispered invitation to look deeper, to listen harder, to embrace the darkness and the light alike. And if you found yourself lost, found yourself changed even slightly, then honor this connection by keeping the flame alive. Like this video if the story haunted you. Subscribe to join the fellowship of seekers who chase the unseen truths, and ring the bell to be the first to greet the next confession, the next shadow, the next revelation waiting to rise from the depths. Because here, we don't merely tell stories. We summon them. We become vessels for the forgotten, the hidden, and the unspoken, and you, dear listener, have become part of this sacred ritual. So until the next tale finds you in the quiet hours, keep your senses sharp, your heart open, and never stop chasing the whispers in the silence. Thanks for watching. Take care. Good luck.